Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to Quilt Along number 18 on the Free Motion Quilting Project. This week we're going to work on a design called Loopy Line. And again, I'm just stitching this out into a little practice sandwich about the size of a fat quarter. And then I'm going to show you some photos of how it looks in the Batik Beauty quilt. So let's get on the machine and learn how Loopy Line works in free motion.
The first step is to start with some very simple E shapes in order to get into quilting Loopy Line. And I'm just working this across in about a 3-inch row, coming up, forming that little E shape, that little loop, and coming back down and around and forming the next one. The best place to stop in this design is right where those lines of quilting cross, because that is going to hide any wiggles or wobbles. Now let's hear what this design sounds like as the machine is quilting it. Once you get the hang of the very simple E shapes, it should be no trouble to combine stitching them both upright and upside down across your quilting space. And so you can see I'm looping up, then immediately coming down and stitching the same identical loop but facing the opposite way. And the really neat thing is this row right here looks terrific in the sashing of any quilts as the edge of any garment. It is a gorgeous little decorative stitch that you can apply many different places. And don't feel like this is just some kind of practice thing. It really will look terrific on your quilts. Now let's hear what it sounds like when you're quilting it. Next row is really a lot of fun because we're going to reverse it. We've been stitching all those loops on the outside. Now let's curl inside and create that loop and loop back out around. I hope you can see how that works and how this is really kind of the opposite of the row before. And personally, I found this a little bit more challenging, mostly because it's not as easy. You kind of have to estimate your space a little bit more. You kind of have to work a little harder to know how to get into and how to get back out of that little U shape. So let's hear how it works, and then let's put all of these different elements together to create a very nice, complex version of Loopy Line. Now we're working on our complex, very random version of Loopy Line. So I'm going to work my way down, and one thing I like to do is try and make the loops kind of sprout from both sides of the line at a time. So I'll kind of loop left, then I'll loop right. But then again, it's also nice to just let the loops happen as they happen. And you can see that I'm also looping in many different sizes and shapes. So some are very big and some are very tiny. And you know, that's okay. When it comes to the scale, the size of your design, the loops are not really determining the size or the scale. It's the line itself. So long as you're keeping a nice consistent distance of maybe a half of an inch between the line, then don't worry about making some loops really big or some loops really small. Of course, it's definitely something to play with when it comes to quilting your quilts, which kind of loop you like best. Whether you like the really big giant loops or you like the really nice tiny loops. It's entirely up to you, and yes, this will change the texture of your design. It will change the effect and the look of it, so it's worth stitching it both ways and seeing which way you like best. The really nice thing about this design is it's getting back into those smooth curving shapes that we had with stippling, and that makes this design fit very easily into any area of your quilt. Of course, all of the independent designs we've learned this year so far will work very well, but there's something about these curves that really fit and form very evenly into any odd area. Trying to fit this around appliques, anything like that, it's going to be quite easy because it's based on these nice gentle curves. So now let's listen to this complex version of Loopy Line being formed in the Batik Beauty quilt. And here's what Loopy Line looks like in the Batik Beauty quilt.
So that's it for this video. I really hope you'll get on your machine and give Loopy Line a try. You know, it's really just a matter of playing with these shapes, playing with these angles and forming the loops, and then combining them all together to create a nice complex design. Make sure to link up your blog post or images from Flickr with the project. Last week we worked on circuit board, so definitely share any progress, any questions that you had about using that design in your quilts. So until next time, let's go quilt.
You may have been wondering what those bright little things at the end of my pens were on the quilt as I was quilting it. These are pen moors. They are an amazing pen anchor tool that allow you to baste with straight pens. Check them out at daystyledesigns.com.